welcome to Robert Chicken with a podcast in the middle. I'm Gordon.
I'm Alistair.
And today we're going to discuss one of the biggest adventure games from 1997, Ribbon, the sequel to Myst.
A game that our dad couldn't finish, even though he had the hint book for it.
7 discs of amazement. No, just kidding. Not that. We're going to talk about the Polar Express. No, what is it? The Last Express. No, not really.
We're neither going to talk about that nor that creepy Robert Zemeckis film with CGI Tom Hanks in it.
No. Today is all about part 2 of The Curse of Monkey Island. The curse gets worse.
Da, 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 da.
But before we get into that, there's not really been any news about Return to Monkey Island, but let's just talk about a little thing.
Yeah.
All right, so this is very much a good vibes podcast.
Yeah.
Some people in the greater Monkey Island community don't seem to be about the good vibes.
Yeah.
And they've kind of gotten a bit blue.
Yes.
In their communication with our Lord and Saviour Ron Gilbert on his own blog.
Yeah, there's been some valid criticism, and there's also been some really not very nice things.
Some really nasty stuff
that people said to Ron Gilbert on his very own personal website. And I don't know why people decided that the visual style of Return to Monkey Island is some kind of such an egregious offence to them.
It's a Maoist conspiracy.
Yeah, apparently. I don't really get it unless some people are intentionally being disingenuous about their reaction, either to stir up trouble or I don't know.
Yeah,
because
if you don't know what we're talking about,
because they like to get upset about everything, which I think some people do.
So just to dial it back a second, people have been upset about the art direction for Return to Monkey Island. I don't really want to harp on about that. I think it looks good, and we're getting a new Monkey Island game from Ron Gilbert and Dave Grossman. So
yeah,
that's so awesome.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
You're allowed to not like the art style, whatever. But people are just being horrible on his blog and just generally everywhere and saying really abusive, nasty things. And so to those people, I say, shut up.
Yeah, I don't get it.
No.
You know, it's like I've seen people going like, oh, you know, it's like let the fans down or whatever. We've been fans of Monkey Island forever. And I'm totally since the first 2 games are out, and I'm totally cool with what they're doing. So
am I.
no one's speaking for everybody here. This idea, like there's this, and this is across so many different franchises. The idea that there's some hardcore cadre of like true believers who understand the property better than anyone, better than the people make it. Always forget that there are also lots of people who've been around just as long as them who actually like what's being done. I find that really irritating when people talk about this as if the games in this case have to be a certain way and that's the only way that like long-standing fans would accept. No, it's not true.
It's not true.
We've been fans of this forever, and and I'm totally cool with what they're doing with Return to Monkey Island. So these people
This is something I never thought I would receive.
Yeah.
And I'm so excited about it.
Yeah, exactly. This was something that I thought, well, it'll never happen. There'll never be, Ron Gilbert will never make a Monkey Island game. I thought there never would be another Monkey Island game after Tales.
Yeah,
exactly. let alone Ron Gilbert making another one. And yet, I probably shouldn't entirely be surprised because it seems like everything now has some nugget of people who just have these ridiculous over-the-top reactions, some of which I don't think are sincere, and some of which I think come from a place of bloody-mindedness that probably has nothing actually to do with the franchises and more to do with something deep inside that
Yeah.
would not be remedied by anything, no matter what it
Yeah.
was.
Or it's just people, 4channy type people,
Yeah,
trying to
yeah, that's
think they're funny.
also possibly people just doing it for a joke.
Yeah.
Pretty
Anyway,
mean-spirited joke, but yeah,
yeah. Nasty.
sure.
Don't be nasty. Don't be a dick. Let's just put that to bed, and we'll
Yeah,
move on.
yes.
Yeah. Don't be nasty to Ron. That's his personal blog, Grumpy Gamer. It's an awesome kind of portal into his insight and into kind of a video game and adventure game guru and genius. So leave him alone or just be nice.
Yeah,
That's what we want.
it'd be nice for this whole process to kind of echo something Dominic Armato said on Twitter. It'd be nice for this process to be joyous for the people making it and not
Exactly.
a kind of terrible chore because of unpleasable fans who, like I said, probably would have been upset with any decision that they'd made.
Well, moving right along then, let's talk about a game that also may have made some people not like the graphics.
Yes, and I was literally thinking about this. Uh, I don't know if this is if I'm segueing too hard into this, but if we talk about the Curse of Monkey
Go
Island,
hard.
I bet that if we only had Monkey Island 2 and then 30 years later Curse of Monkey Island had come out looking like it did, I guarantee you people would have been like, "Oh, this is stupid. They've made it. Disney made it look like a cartoon."
Yeah, exactly.
And you know how I know that is because when I was a little kid and our dad showed us pictures
Yep.
of the upcoming Monkey Island game, I went, "That looks dumb. Why do they make it
Did you?
look that way?" Yeah,
I don't
I
remember
did.
that.
I didn't like the fact that they'd made everything look cartoony. I was
Right.
annoyed. I loved
But to
the
be
way
fair,
that
you were
LeChuck's
7.
7 years old. Yes.
Yeah.
And then we played Curse of Monkey Island, and I didn't care anymore.
No, you never stopped. And I just finished replaying part 2, and it's just one of the best things ever.
Yeah, I replayed it yesterday, and it was as good as it's ever been. So, should we jump in by
Yep.
saying, yeah, what do we remember about
Let's go back.
Curse of Monkey Island? Let's jump in the time machine and go back to 1997.
All right. So I remember waking up one morning and our dad had printed out a couple of screenshots
Yeah.
from the kind of initial blast from LucasArts
Yeah.
of pictures from Curse. I think there was a picture of Guybrush. What Guybrush looked like.
Yep.
There might have been a screenshot. Maybe the Barbary Coast.
Yeah, I think there was a picture of LeChuck as well.
Yeah, the Chuck with the big fiery beard.
It said a
And
warm
I don't.
reunion with an old flame was
Yes,
the humorous
yes.
caption. That I always remember that because as a kid I didn't know what an old flame was, and I
Right.
found that
Okay.
very confusing.
I guess I wouldn't have either. Yeah, because you and I were already fans of the first 2 games, and so
Yeah,
it was very nice of him to leave those out for us to find in the morning.
yeah, another Monkey Island game.
Yeah. Wow, they're making Monkey Island 2.
Yeah, I'd speculated about it. If I've got a moving box with an old drawing book in it somewhere behind me from pre 1997, with my drawings about what I imagined a third Monkey Island game was going to be like when I was a little kid.
That would be interesting to look at.
Spoiler alert, I think it was basically just Monkey Island 2 again.
Yeah,
Because I liked
that's okay.
Monkey Island 2 so much.
Yeah.
It was in my head, if they made another one, it would just be a rehash of that.
Yeah. So it should be. No. Yeah, okay. So we went on an extended family vacation at the end of 1997.
Mm-hmm.
And we are from Australia. We went to the UK, and around Christmas time was when Monkey Island 3, The Curse of Monkey Island, was released.
Yep.
And in the big HMV stores and the Virgin Mega stores and everything, they had these big... Everywhere I remember, they had these big kind of just racks and racks of The Curse of Monkey Island and big posters and cutouts and everything. I just thought, this is the best. I can't believe I'm seeing Monkey Island everywhere.
Yeah, Monkey Island was everywhere. It was a big marketing push for this
Yes.
game.
Okay. Also, you and I, or our family only owned a Mac.
Yeah, we did not have a Windows compatible
No,
computer,
machine.
and we would not for some years after this
Yeah, it would take
as
another
well.
4 years, I think, to get a
But that
PC.
Yeah, but that wasn't going to stop you from owning a copy of Curse of Monkey Island, which is a good
No.
thing because that means you
Yeah,
own a physical copy of
I have the
Monkey
big
Island,
box. Yeah, I
even
have it here
though
with me now.
yeah, initially we didn't actually own a computer on which you
That
could
ran
play
it.
it.
No, we did try to get it running on virtual PC, but our Mac, which was actually a good Mac for the time, we had the
Yeah,
Director's Edition Power PC from 1997. It wouldn't run it.
wasn't up to the task. No.
No. So we ended up playing Curse the first time at kind of a friend of our dad's. Do you remember that?
Oh, no, I don't remember this
Okay. I
actually.
do because I was very excited.
I
We just
remember
needed
playing it
someone who
on
had a Windows
yeah,
machine.
yeah. I remember
Yeah.
playing it on our uncle's work computer.
Yeah, well, that's what I finished it on the first
Yeah,
time.
yes, I definitely remember they we had relatives visiting and
Yep.
playing it on that, and our
Yep.
uncle is left-handed, so the
Mm.
computer was set up with a
Yeah, we had to
left-handed
play it
mouse and stuff.
left-handed. I
Yeah,
remember. Yeah, it's funny you should say that. Now I remember that.
yeah,
No, another thing about the Mac compatibility, um, it's I read a thing a few years ago that was like you could get ScumVM for Mac, which meant that finally Mac users kind of were able to play Curse as if
yeah.
like Curse was this big missing portion. But I also remember because I was 10
Mm.
when Curse came out, I remember just going through like every box, taking it off the shelf and looking at the side to see if there was a Mac copy, if there was a Mac
Okay,
port. And I
yeah.
didn't realise at the time, in my naivety as a child, that it didn't exist, and it never did exist.
No, according to Wikipedia, Curse of Monkey Island came out for Mac OS in 2018.
Yes,
So if
okay,
you wanted to
that's
play it
the
on your Mac, you had to wait
is that
21
the
years
GOG version?
to play it.
Is that GOG or is that that big
I,
box they did? No,
I'm
that's
not.
only recent.
Yeah, no. I think it was just yeah, it would have just been some online release, but um, yeah, it was a bit frustrating because of course we had played the first two games
Yep.
on Mac, and
Yes, we've
now
had the Mac ports.
we had to. This was the age of yeah, having to play Monkey Island games on someone else's computer for a while,
Yeah,
which,
for a
as
few
we've
years.
discussed before, we ended up having to do with Escape initially as well.
Yes, yes, that's right. Anyway, we did eventually get to play it, and I played it a
Mm,
lot at my friend's house, and as you say, on borrowed computers and things. And then eventually we got a PC on a
yeah,
Windows ME.
and yeah, I remember, as I said, I remember initially not liking how it looked, but once I played it, I was totally fine with it. I think, as we said before, I had not actually, maybe neither of us had actually finished Monkey Island 2 when we first
No, not
played
completely.
Curse. I think
No.
we'd maybe gotten as far as LeChuck's Fortress.
Yeah, I had, yeah.
In Monkey Island 2, we definitely hadn't played the finale.
No.
Um, so it kind of like Monkey Island, Curse of Monkey Island is arguably a soft reboot of the series. It's meant to be an
Yeah,
accessible sequel for people who haven't played the first two, but it still ties into it
yeah.
if you have. And from that perspective, Curse of Monkey Island, yeah, worked for us as kids who hadn't actually finished Monkey Island 2 because you didn't really need to have finished Monkey Island 2 to understand what was going on.
No, no, you didn't, which was kind of cool and necessary. Um, on replaying it recently, I felt like there were a few little kind of perhaps plot uh, weaknesses that
Hmm.
you kind of forgive because the production value on this game is phenomenal.
Yeah, yeah. Was one of the best looking games of its era. Um,
Or ever,
yeah,
almost.
and arguably in some respects, yes, still is.
This is a game that not only launched 1,000 fan sites, but also kind of set standard for adventure games for a long time to come. You know, all
Yeah.
of the kind of more indie adventure games that came out after that were trying to ape the look of Curse.
Yeah, and it really shows the fact that LucasArts poured a lot of time and energy and resources into this
Yeah,
game to
yeah,
really try to make you know, this is was a like a triple A adventure game of its
yeah,
day.
absolutely.
This was
This was
yeah,
worth the $100
yeah,
Australian.
yeah, and it was all that the hand drawn backgrounds, the hand drawn art, the top notch professional voice acting,
Yes,
all of these things.
the soundtrack, the score
Yeah,
is incredible.
yes, yeah, the score on the soundtrack, and of course, not the writing, the puzzle design,
Yep,
everything like that, the length of it, everything. This was, this was an adventure game with some really serious money and
yeah,
talent behind it. In
yeah.
in
This
a
is a
way,
big
in a
effort.
way that the first two they'd been smaller projects,
Yeah,
smaller teams, obviously extremely good games, and in my opinion, I prefer the first two to Curse, but
agreed.
this was a different level in terms of, as you say, production value.
Yeah, yeah, that's it. And if they'd kept making Monkey Island games in the same style as Curse forever, I would have been fine with that.
Yeah, but perhaps it's good that the style wasn't allowed to outstay its welcome. We had
Possibly true.
this one
We had
great
this one
game, and
gem.
then it
Yeah,
changed into something else.
yeah, that's right. So the basic plot being that Elaine has been turned to gold
Yeah,
from a cursed diamond ring that Guybrush has given her as an engagement ring that he's stolen from LeChuck's hold.
yeah, and so we're specifically going to focus on part two of the
Yeah,
game
yeah,
in
that's the
this
plot for this
episode.
part.
Yeah, this is all
So
about Guybrush needing to get finding out how to cure Elaine of the curse, and then finding the
yeah,
ship, the crew, and the map that will allow him to fulfill that goal.
yeah, a few similar goals to the beginning of Secret.
Yeah,
Also, LeChuck is not a threat in this part. Guybrush is
no,
just concerned about rescuing Elaine.
yeah. There's no real antagonist or anything in this part. Captain Rottingham even doesn't become one until the subsequent part of the game. I guess you could argue that the Pirates of Danger Cove kind of are, but
Yeah,
they're
kind
not.
of built up like that.
Yeah, but
Or El Pollo Diablo.
yeah, maybe El Pollo Diablo, even though it turns out that we are El Pollo
Diablo.
Diablo.
Yeah,
But yeah, it's very low tension experience where you're encouraged to
yeah,
explore
explore.
explore Plunder Island, explore Puerto Pollo, talk to everyone, fiddle around with everything, explore every option in front of you.
Yeah, and gives it a really nice kind of summery Caribbean atmosphere. Just walking through the town, listening to the music. There's a water wheel going, flowing down the hill. You can hear
Yeah,
the seagulls, one of which is sampled from Secret.
secret. Yeah,
You
I was
can
thinking of secret. Yeah,
the the clock goes off every, I think it's every half hour.
yeah.
I noticed.
And plays a little bit of the LeChuck theme.
Yeah, and it's really just as part one of Curse kind of acts as a bit of a tutorial on the fly. Part
Yeah,
two is really, I feel like that's where the game begins
yeah.
and the plot's set up.
Yeah, it's. I was just going to say, in terms of the structure of Curse, it's it's basically you have this opening, one big act, an interlude, a second big act, and then a finale.
Yeah,
So it's structured. It's structured in a more symmetrical way than the first two games were.
yeah, it's
So,
not as bottom heavy.
Yeah. So slightly
Yeah.
different approach to the pacing of the story in
Yeah.
this game.
Which is the thing that I feel makes it feel like a bigger experience than the first two in that way. Because you've
Y-
got, in those games, you've got kind of the one big chunky part and then the bits that fit around it. This one
Yeah,
we've got, I feel like we've got part two and part four, real kind of immersive atmospheric experiences with two different plots kind of in each part.
yeah,
So, I'm trying to figure out how to tackle this. The first thing you have to do after Elaine has been turned into gold is go to the voodoo lady.
yeah,
But you can also wander around the rest of the island and try to talk to people to get help. And kind of Guybrush is kind of panicked about what to do.
yeah. And the game really steers you in that opening towards go and talk to the voodoo lady. You can't progress
No.
until you've done that, which is a
Yeah.
bit different to the first two games where really you didn't actually have to go and talk to anyone in particular and you could just wander
Uh,
around and do whatever you felt like.
yes. And I always, I get, I, that the conversation with the voodoo lady is one thing that I don't really like in this game.
It's a little bit long winded.
It is long-winded, yeah. What I tried to do this time, which I'd never really done before, is switch off the speech and just read the subtitles. Then you could just read them quickly at your own pace.
Yeah,
But I found that I'm so familiar with the way that the dialogue is spoken that I would just read it in my head the exact same way. But I did step through everything. She gives you some idea about where the plot's going to go. For example, she instructs you to go to Blood Island
yeah,
and that you need to find a diamond ring there and that there's a bit of a mysterious curse around that. So she kind of gives you all of your mission and then you don't have to come back to her. And actually, in my recent replay, I didn't come back at all.
yeah. I think
Yeah.
once you've exhausted a certain amount of dialogue with her, there's really not any point.
No, there's no reason to come back.
Yeah,
Yeah. So Guybrush has to find 3 people on his crew. I don't think it's stipulated 3, but he kind of tells you after you get 1 that he only needs 2 more. I could be wrong.
it's very similar to Secret. You need 3 people
Yeah.
to join your crew. You need to find a ship. This is all like the second half of the first part
Yes.
of Secret,
Yeah, very much.
and it feels like, as I said in a previous episode, they thought to themselves, "This is a new Monkey Island game. We're pushing this out to people who wouldn't have played these games before.
Yep.
Let's just do some stuff that's been done before
Yeah.
because this is going to be new to a large chunk of our audience."
Yeah, that's right. And I do like the fact that the way that finding the crew has now become the main kind of puzzle, where it felt like a bit of a coda at the end of part 1 of Secret. It just felt like
Yeah,
you just wander around asking people to join your crew, which you do in this, but you need to solve some
puzzles to
puzzles,
do it. Yeah,
and you do in that way have to kind of prove yourself as the captain in this kind of silly way to get the 3 crew members, which are the 3 members of the Barbary Coast, the 3 barbers in there.
yeah. So should we talk about you know Puerto Pollo and the
Sure.
world that you get to explore in this
Yeah.
part?
Yep.
So every Monkey Island game really has its starting town,
Yep.
and this is a bit of a contrast to the previous 2 games. Yeah, we had these 2 towns at night. Now it's during the day. We had
Mm.
these sort of active pirate towns before. Now we've got a kind of sleepy town full of what's
Yeah.
supposed to be retired
Retired pirates.
pirates, although I don't think you really see that many pirates in general
No, it's just
in
stated that
Puerto
that's what it
Pollo.
is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we've got a lemonade stand, a chicken shop, a theatre, and a barber shop.
And the cabana, if you count that.
Yeah, the beach club as well. So
Yeah.
you know they're really trying to show some different kinds of funny real world locations imagined
Yeah.
in a pirate style.
Yeah, it's nice. It's a nice different kind of thing. It feels very of this game. It feels very of the direction that the series went in, where it's kind of more making fun of real world things in that way, rather than just being a bit more bizarre or silly like the original game. The original two games. Do you find?
Yeah, I think the first two games sort of straddle this line between trying to capture this pirate world and having these silly and strange elements in it. And this one, yeah, seems to steer a bit more into just the silliness of it. I think the satirical elements of the series, which obviously get taken to kind of the nth degree in Escape,
Yeah.
begin a bit here because I think, as I've described it before, Puerto Pollo is kind of like Florida for pirates kind of thing, and then
Yeah.
there's a lot of comedy about snobby exclusive clubs and bad fast food restaurants
Yeah.
and
But it's
and
not
that
as
kind of
overt as
thing.
things like Star Buccaneers and things
Yeah,
like that.
yeah, no, it's not nearly as over the top as that,
Yeah.
but this feels like, yeah, a slightly more parodic, more kind of satirical, overtly satirical world than what
Yeah.
appeared in the first two games.
I think it is a hard formula to get right. If you look at things like in Secret, you've got things like the giant monkey head, which is this really bizarre, creepy statue, right? But the key that opens it is like an earbud. What do you call it?
Yeah, a Q-tip, as they some call it in
Q-tip.
America, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, cotton
like
bud.
cotton bud. That's the kind of like that. That's weird and funny, but I think that humor is quite hard to capture. It's quite hard to marry those two things.
Yeah, and those things are much more isolated especially in the first game.
Yeah, but they are the present. They're
Uh,
definitely there.
Yeah,
And
and those elements in the second game feed a lot more into what that game is whatever that
yeah,
game's trying to say.
yeah, is it things in the real world leaking in, things like that. But in this game, you can kind of see how it would be really hard to kind of come up with that kind of level of humour and atmosphere to keep it piratey and keep it light.
Yeah,
But I
yeah,
think they've done a relatively good job in this part.
yeah. I think they did do a good job. You can see what they were going for with this. I think in terms of trying to make the game accessible
Yeah.
to people. It is this humorous environment. You get the sense that there's a big comedic element to the game, but it's still overtly got all those pirate elements. Just in the voodoo lady's house is like a ship in a swamp. You got the ship's wheel hanging from the ceiling. Yotopoyo looks like that image of a Spanish colony in
Yeah.
the Americas, with the red tiled roofs and all that
Yeah.
kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's unmistakable what you're looking at. So it really, I think, is intended to draw you in and give you this sense of you've just entered this amazing pirate world. Come in and look around.
Yeah, and it is inviting like that. And
Yeah,
the score really helps back that up, I think, in every area to explore.
yeah,
Okay, so the characters that Guybrush encounters, shall we move on to that?
yeah,
So we've got the three barbers,
yeah,
each of which have their own pirate's tale to tell. They've all come
yeah,
from different places. Haggis McMutton, voiced by the fellow who voiced Scrooge McDuck. I'm sorry, you
yeah.
may remember his name. I don't.
Alan Young
Alan Young.
was his name. Yeah, he
Yes.
famously voiced Scrooge McDuck in the DuckTales cartoon.
Yes, his pirate adventure was to Bunky Island. Is that right?
Yeah, Bulky
Bulky,
Island.
Bulky Island. Yes.
where the captain threw his back out trying to carry off some treasure, and
Yeah.
someone else came in and used a lever system
Yeah.
to get rid of it, and that sets up Haggis's trial to get him to join your crew. You have to beat him in a feat of strength,
Yes, which is the caber
and
toss.
yeah, and it shows that he values strength. I think this whole thing of Haggis being this kind of Scottish stereotype, which is also a pirate, again, it
Yeah.
feels like a slightly more satirical
Yeah.
kind of element. I think that there's a slight, yeah, there's a bit of stereotyping going on here. It's a bit like kind of a bit
Absolutely.
like
He's wearing a
gra-
kilt.
groundskeeper Willie from The
Yeah.
Simpsons kind of thing.
Yeah, he's the big tough Scot.
Yeah, yeah. Um, and I think all this stuff with like the caber toss and everything is I love all the kind of stupid options that you can ask him when he tells you what the feat of strength are, like the carrying buckets of heavy rocks race,
Yeah.
or is it
Australian
Australian
rules
rules
football.
football,
Yeah.
and all
That's what
that
I
kind of
always say.
stuff. Yeah. Are really good. I
Yeah.
like the fact that when you're talking to all three of these guys, you can you can be like, is this going to be scary each
Yeah.
time when you talk to them?
Yeah, that's a bit of new characterization, I think, for Guybrush, is that he's a bit of a wimp.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
there's a lot of front to him. So
yeah,
he claims to
yeah,
be a mighty pirate, but is never believed.
yeah,
This two more characters. One is Cutthroat Bill.
yep,
He says, "Bill, that's your pirate name," and then he says, "No, it's Cutthroat Bill." And he values gold and treasure.
yeah. He wants you to find some gold for him.
And he's a bit of a dark horse. He's got kind of a murderous vibe to him.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Blood-stained cloth that he's
Yes, that he's
washing
cleaning.
in the basin or
Yeah.
whatever in the Barbary shop.
Yeah. The third pirate is Edward Van
Van
Helgen,
Helgen.
who
Yeah.
is a play on Edward Van Halen,
Mm,
famous guitarist.
yeah. He was our fancy. What's he called? Dapper pirate.
Tapper pirate, yeah.
Yeah.
He's
Before you know his name.
he's a
Yeah.
gentleman. And
Yeah, yeah, and he'll only join your crew if you defeat him in a test of honor.
yes, but you need to insult him first and figure
Yeah,
out a way to insult him as a gentleman, because Guybrush initially tries to insult him
verbally.
verbally, yes,
Yeah,
to which he does not respond. Oh, please, he
yeah,
says. Yes, and it's one of the better gags of the part when you are going to duel with pistols, and rather than dueling with pistols, you close the pistol box and choose to duel with banjos.
yeah. And this dueling banjos gag, I take it, is a reference to Deliverance.
Deliverance, yeah,
That's where the concept of dueling banjos
yeah,
comes from.
I believe
Which
so.
yeah, which is I mean it's very funny. It's very weird. um,
Yeah,
gag. I mean, it's very clever, but um,
yeah, but
so
it's a simple
odd.
memory puzzle once you've
Yeah,
figured that out.
yeah, and
It,
and Van Helgen is, I think, the easiest in some respects of the three challenges to get the crew.
historically, for me, for some reason, Van Helgen is always the one that I do first,
Yeah, I usually do Van Helgen first as
and
well.
Haggis last,
Yeah,
typically. I think.
yeah, that's normally how I do it. I
Yeah.
I was thinking about this. It's been so long since I discovered the puzzle solutions for these, so it's hard to think back. Do you think knowing to slap him is difficult?
Yes, I think so.
Especially if you were a kid and you didn't know about the concept
Yeah,
of, yeah,
I did think about some things like that, but there are. I guess this is the thing where you can possibly just click through
Yeah.
and eventually figure something out. Especially if there's something like that as a kid, that you learn from these things.
Yeah.
You kind of you learn that that's kind of
Yeah.
a
You learn these
historical.
cultural references. It's sort of
Yeah,
like people saying that they learn English from playing
yeah,
Monkey Island.
yeah. Because you can
Um,
hear. Go on.
yeah, yeah, and I was just going to say, so the slapping him with the glove, and the other thing is, of course, shooting the banjo while he's playing it. Is that a hard puzzle as well?
I thought about that, and I feel like I figured that out as a kid.
Mm. It's sort of the
But
only thing you can do
it's
in
the
that
only thing you can do, and
situation, right?
you can walk away and leave him up on the hill,
Mm.
and you can go back to the Barbary Coast, and he's not there.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
tested that out.
because I've never done that. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's not much you can
Interesting.
do other than that.
Okay, so yeah, and as I'm sure you remember in the manual for
Well, that's a whole other thing to discuss.
yeah,
The
Curse
manual
of
for this
Monkey
game is
Island,
so good.
yeah, it was a whole thing in itself. The
Yeah.
manual had a list of weapons, which was actually just referring
Yes.
to
Yes.
items you can get in the game, and one of
Yeah.
them's the pistol,
Yep.
and it was set out as if it's a list of weapons from an
Like an
RPG or an
action game.
FPS or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
um,
It's really great. I do
and
remember that. Yeah, and the bread knife and things.
yeah, and this is the only time that you actually get to use the gun. And as soon as you use it, Van Helgen takes it back off you.
Yeah, give me back my gun. Or what you can do is, I tried to pick up the gun and walk away, and he doesn't let you.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Um, this is the only. I think this is the only time we see Guybrush fire a gun.
Yeah, off the top of my head,
He doesn't do it in Tails, I don't
don't,
believe.
don't think so. No, no. It's usually just
Yeah.
cannons. There's the dude who fires the gun over your head in Revenge. Elaine shoots the
Yes.
cutlass out of LeChuck's hand at the start
Yeah.
of Curse. But yeah, I think this
Yeah.
is maybe pretty much the only time
Yeah.
that it happens.
Yeah. And Van Helgen is impressed with Guybrush's guile to shoot
Yeah.
the banjo out of his
Yeah, and
hands.
it's a clever puzzle that you have to prove that you're not really a man of honor at all, and
No. Yeah.
that you're prepared to do a dastardly thing in order to get your own way. And I think that
Yes, because
that's
you're a pirate.
quite a good element because
Yeah.
this is not one of those times when it's like this isn't a lie, cheat, and steal thing. This isn't a
No.
substitution puzzle. It's a bit different. This
Yeah.
is a,
It's more clever than that.
yeah, this is like uh, prove that you're not a good person. Like, don't do the
Yeah.
honorable thing. Don't do the good thing. Is so
Do
it's like
immoral
a
things.
joke puzzle. Yeah, which I think is
Yeah.
clever.
So you have to effectively cheat, steal,
Yeah,
and destroy
yeah,
to prove yourself as a pirate, which I like. It's not set out in that really straight way that it is in secret, but
yeah,
yeah, and it it's nice. It's nice. The way you prove yourself to Cutthroat Bill is to steal a gold tooth from Captain
Captain
Blondebeard.
Blondebeard. Do you think is this the most complex puzzle
I was thinking about that
in
actually
the
when I
part?
played it, and I was thinking, is this hard to figure out, especially if you were a kid coming to this? How to get the tooth out of
Yeah,
his
no.
mouth and then out of the window?
Funny thing with this is, so Curse of Monkey Island has two difficulty modes, and
Yes.
it presents the easy mode as being the normal mode, when really it's not.
No.
The developers actually went through and took puzzles out to
Yeah.
create the Curse of Monkey Island, and Mega Monkey was actually the original version
Yes.
of the game before puzzles were removed. And we always used to just play, yeah, the easy mode when we were kids, not realizing.
Yeah. Yet I've
And
not played that for 20 years, probably.
yeah, no, and I haven't played the easy mode for a long time, but for a long time I did, and I do have a memory of playing Mega Monkey and not knowing how to get the gold tooth out of the chicken shop.
Right. Do you just
Um,
walk out in the original or in the
yeah, I think you
PC version?
just pop the bubble and just grab the tooth and leave.
Right. Okay.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
whereas in this, there's so much to it involving, you chew the gum, you give him the jawbreaker, you give him some gum,
Yeah.
you,
Pop the bubble,
yeah, then
and you
you
have to
put the
put the
tooth in the gum,
yeah.
suck some helium as well, chew the gum
Yes.
with
I guess
the helium in your mouth.
I guess things like you don't like you can't just use the tooth with a pack of gum, which would also be an obvious kind of secondary way of doing this.
Yeah, yeah, you've got to have the thought process of,
Mm.
okay, I need helium in my throat that's going to
Yeah.
that's going to
That
inflate the bubble to make it
the
rise
bubble,
up in
yeah.
the air.
But that it is kind of a satisfying conclusion. I like that puzzle. I like its
Yeah.
complicated nature.
One thing I will say about this uh, game and the coin interface is that I'm not 100% convinced that the way that the mouth is used is tutorialized terribly well because it gets used so often for talk. It's easy
Mm.
to forget that it's also used for bite, for chew, um,
Yeah, yeah, I
for
suppose. But
inhale, and that kind of thing.
there's kind of a joy to discovering that, I feel.
Yeah, I mean,
Because
it's intended to leave you to figure out and go, oh, right, this
yeah,
isn't just the talk button, this is the
yeah.
mouth button, and this is a similar thing that this is one of the reasons I've never finished Full Throttle is because I find it really hard to get my head around what the interface is allowing me to do and wants me to do.
Hmm.
I'm like, how was I supposed to know to get Ben to kick the door instead of punch the door kind of thing?
Okay.
It's just a thing that I have with Full Throttle.
I definitely figured that out.
Really struggle with that game. I don't know why I find Full Throttle so difficult, but I do think there's some stuff in this which, yeah, it does encourage you to sort of mess around with the verbs as much as possible.
Yeah. I
Um,
think
and
Full Throttle is a good, just as an aside, good thing to bring up. This is kind of very much the spiritual precursor to Curse.
Yeah, using the interface system that was developed for
Yeah.
Full Throttle was kind of perfected in
Yeah.
Curse.
And that uses the same kind of cutscene, kind of
Yeah,
they have the same feel, the same similar graphical quality. Not exactly the same, but I think it was a DOS release, but don't hold me to that. I'm pretty sure it
okay,
is.
yeah, and just disclaimer: I don't hate Full Throttle. I do intend. I kind of can't believe I've never finished it. I do intend to finish it one day. I think it's a really cool idea that is not necessarily actually given its due by the game in which it exists. But
One
anyway,
day, one day we should go through all of the other adventures,
yeah,
maybe on a
yeah,
separate
yeah. That's
guise to this.
that's what I'll say about that. I really like the premise of Full Throttle. Not 100% sold on the actual game itself. But anyway,
Sure.
let's get back to the curse
Back to the
gets
curse
worse.
gets worse.
Yeah, so one of the things I do like about the Cutthroat Bill puzzle is that it starts with Bill as well. You have to get the jawbreaker from him
Yeah.
in order to
Yeah.
loosen Blondebeard's tooth. And Blondebeard does give you a lot of very clear hints about what he wants. That he
Yeah.
wants something
Something
crunchy to eat
crunchy.
because he misses eating deep fried chicken beaks.
Yes. Yes.
um, and yeah, Bill, you got to give Bill a big push. He starts choking on his jawbreaker. If you don't help him, he will slowly go purple and I think
Yeah.
eventually go blue because he can't breathe.
Yeah.
before you give him the Heimlich or the three-wood
The
maneuver
3 point maneuver. Yeah.
and get the
Nah.
jawbreaker out of his throat. So you get it. It's the thing that he has, which allows you to loosen Blondebeard's tooth to get the gold to give to
Yep.
Bill, which is a
Yeah.
nice. There's a nice circular element to
Yeah.
the way that that puzzle works.
Let's talk about the chicken shop then. Did you
Yeah.
notice speaking to Captain Blombeard, he says, "I won't even have time to cook the chicken before I deliver it."
Yeah, I did notice that, which is meant to be the clue to know that if you go there, you're not going to get cooked alive later on when
Yeah,
you're,
I never really picked that up before.
yeah, in the guise of El Pollo Diablo. He says, "Oh, I probably won't
Yeah,
even get time to cook it." Yeah, I was saying I like the chicken shop.
yeah, I like the
I,
chicken shop too.
I like Captain Blondebeard. I think he's a funny
He's a
character.
funny character. Yeah, he retired pirate.
Only a few teeth in his head. He's got an oven mitt on,
Yes,
that kind of
very
thing.
enthusiastic, very cartoony.
Yeah, I like the when he's having the gum. It gets you here, and it
It
gets
gets
you
you right
right.
here.
What's the other? Oh, you little scamp. That was quite a funny trick. You played on old Captain Blondebeard.
Captain
And I like
Blombeard.
how half the time he's very sort of cheerful and friendly, but at other times he's really quite scary. Like he implies that he killed Manny Calavera, who's sitting
Yeah,
at
yeah,
the table, and that, the way that he whacks you over the head when he thinks you're El Pollo Diablo and everything like that.
Well, he's kind of El Pollo Diablo's sworn mortal enemy.
Yeah, because he's the one who's been keeping and cooking all the chickens
All the
on
chickens. Well,
on the
that's another
island.
thing. Plunder Island is infested with feral chickens.
Yeah, and the more times you go back to the beach, the more chickens there are, or
Chickens turn
the
up. Yeah,
further you get through the
yeah. I think
the
the more
puzzles. I
puzzles you
think the more
solve. Yeah,
chickens show up. There's
yeah,
only any reason to go if you miss it to go back to the beach to get the
to get
burning
the ember.
ember
Yeah,
if you've lost it. One
you
thing that
can push
is
a button to fire a cannon.
yeah, there's a secret button. I like the fact that you can't go up to the fort. Oh, there's nothing interesting up there anyway, which feels a bit like they went, no, we don't know. We want to have this fort in the opening, but we don't have
Don't know
any
what to
further
do with it.
use for it later in the
Yeah,
game. Um,
take the bridge out.
yeah, destroy the bridge and have Guybrush say that there's nothing interesting up there.
Yeah,
I like that as soon as Elaine's statue gets stolen, there's a little the Plunder Island Naturalist Association has left a sign like they've left for everything
everywhere else.
around the
Yeah,
island, saying that it was a local piece of art that was plundered. Um, yeah,
it's
that
really good
stuff.
attention to detail. That kind
Yeah,
of
I
stuff.
like all that sort of stuff. There's loads of little gags like that, which are really funny. I think some of the things you can say about Curse, people say, oh, some people say it's too different from the first two. Other people absolutely love it because it was the first one they played. And I think Curse, one thing I would say about Curse is I still think Curse is a really funny game. And
Yeah,
I think that the writers came up with some really clever ideas for how to incorporate jokes into the game that kept that slightly self-aware, slightly mocking of kind of commercialism and stuff idea that was especially present in Secret with, as I've said before, stuff like the Melee Island Chamber of Commerce and stuff like that.
yeah. The grog machine, things like that. But as I say, I think it's hard. It's a difficult tone to get right.
Yeah, and I
That's
think
why it's a little different, but I
yeah,
still think it works.
yeah, and this does it very well with stuff like the gumball machine at the Voodoo Lady's place, the drive-through speaker
Yes, yes.
outside the chicken shop, stuff like that. What's one of the things? Oh, this is from a different part, but when you get swallowed by the snake, there's like a nine
All the
iron and the
stuff.
jaws of
Yeah,
life and all that kind of thing. So they
yeah. All
keep
that stuff
those.
sitting there that would a snake beating club.
Yeah. They've got stuff like that, which feels like it fits with the Monkey Island world as we know it from the first two games, I
Yeah,
think.
it fits tonally. Well, we
Yeah,
have kind of the spooky environment, which is the kind of plunder, but Danger Cove,
Danger Cove. Yeah,
spelt with a J.
yeah, DANJR.
The pirates of Danger Cove are kind of built up to be scary,
Yeah,
proper pirates. And when we get aboard, we find out that it's a crazy person
yeah,
and a crew of monkeys with a giant chimp or a giant
yeah.
ape
Yeah, and
as the captain.
one of the things I neglected to mention when we were talking about our top moments from Curse, Escape, and Tales is that Mr. Fossey, his name is of course a reference to Diane Fossey, the famous gorilla
Yes,
expert who wrote Gorillas in the Mist and lived
right.
among the gorillas
There
in
you go.
Rwanda for a long time. That was something I only thought of after we
Yeah,
after
after
we
we
talked
discussed our
about it.
top
Yeah,
10.
Mr. Fossey is a reference to Diane
Yeah,
Fossey, the gorilla
okay.
expert. Yeah,
Well, it's kind of a creepy situation aboard the ship with all the monkeys and the crazy guy, and it's also a bit of a reference to Secret,
yeah,
when the rumor is that the ship returned crewed entirely by trained monkeys.
yeah, yeah. There are no chimps in the Caribbean. Shut up. It makes a good story. Yeah, I
And
like
this is
how
another thing I like,
yeah,
how uh, we have to get a ship, but it's not like in Secret where you have to steal a ship. Sorry, it's not like in Secret where you have to buy a ship. In this one, we have to steal a ship,
yeah,
and I like the way we go about that.
yeah, yeah. I think that it's no, you don't just get a lane back from these guys. You also
Take
steal
their
their
ship.
ship,
Yeah,
get them to stop being pirates and stuff. I really like the design of the monkeys and Le Chimp. I like
yeah,
that they've got
Chimp,
this
Captain
vacant
Chimp.
look in their eyes.
Yeah, because they're just
Like
monkeys.
there's no joke in this that they're like, haha, they're animals who know what's going on, but they just can't talk or whatever, like in Escape and Tales. They're
No,
literally just monkeys with
yeah,
swords. Le Chimp just sits there.
yeah,
Even when you get out and wander around the cabin, because he's just a gorilla, he doesn't
gorilla. Yeah,
care that you're
yeah. He's
there.
just sitting
He
there.
sits there. I
I do
like the
like the way
fact,
that you have to solve the puzzle by using the ventriloquist book.
yeah, yeah, the A and C's of ventriloquism
Mm.
is or Z's I should say. Yeah, it's funny. I think like that, and that's an interesting element, right? Because you have to get the ventriloquist book out of the hat using the magic wand,
Yeah,
and I'm
that makes sense to
wondering,
me.
yeah, I'm wondering if that a hard puzzle? Would people get to do that? And what else can you use the magic wand on just for fun
Oh, I don't
in the
remember.
game?
I think there is some
Because
stuff.
there are things. I had this memory for ages that you could use it on the red die, like in as a reference to Loom, and it made it
Oh, and
green.
change it.
But
Did you
that,
try it?
yeah, and nothing happens. I have this really strong memory that you could do that, but it
I think you
must
might
just be
just be
my
thinking of Loom.
imagination. Yeah, but I'm pretty sure you can use. Guybrush uses it later on, doesn't he? He uses the magic wand to
Yeah,
cover
he
to
does to make
destroy
something
the
disappear.
evidence on Blood Island,
Yeah,
right? Of when he knocks that painting down, I think, or something like that. Um,
yeah.
but I'd have to replay it to remember exactly. But
There's kind
yeah,
of this old rule in adventure games, going back to like the Mac Venture series, things like Shadowgate, where you you use the object where you found it.
hmm,
So
yeah,
you use the wand where you found it,
yeah. What
and
else
it
would you
does
use a
something.
magic wand on? Yeah, except for that hat.
Magic
Um,
hat.
and I was just
While
gonna
we're
say, I like
going,
Mr. Fossey's got bananas in his hat. That was just the
yeah,
other
that's a
thing I
nice
was
little,
gonna
funny
say.
little
Instead of a
design.
feather, he's got bananas.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of joy going into
Yeah,
designing all these
yeah,
characters, I think.
yeah,
While we're talking about the theatre,
yeah,
there's a trunk. It's meant to be Slappy Cromwell's trunk, and it's the one that's contains the cannonballs. And there's a sticker on it for Blood Island,
yeah,
and this is kind of where we get the clue as to how to find the map to Blood Island.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to talk about the theatre and Slappy Cromwell. Do you remember what his real name is?
Is it something uh, like Rex Fortune?
It's something like
Something
that, yeah.
something
He's a
like that.
really powerful kind of name.
Adventure Seeker or something like that.
Yeah,
Um,
and he's had to change it to be a thespian. Also, if you talk to him, it says actor, and he says I'm a thespian. If you look
yeah,
at him, he says I'm a
Thespian.
thespian,
Yeah,
and then the text down the bottom changes to thespian.
yeah. Rex Fortune, Adventure Seeker. Yeah,
Yeah.
Slappy
So
Cromwell.
we discussed this before that Cromwell has condensed the entire works of Shakespeare into a 45-minute review.
Review. Yeah,
Yeah, just
which
called
is
Spear.
yeah.
So even the title is condensed. But as you mentioned before, Shakespeare's a very real world reference to be making.
Yeah, it's an unusually real world esque reference for the Monkey Island series, which very rarely, even in the later games, although they kind of forgot this sort of rule a little bit in later games. But yeah, with one of the only kind of real world references that you get in the game. I mean, it's such a universal thing that it's fine. But
Yeah, it is fun. They didn't come up with some other character or
yeah, and it's better that they didn't. It's and I've used this expression a number of times, but it's a very Python-esque gag.
yeah,
The
the
famous
summarized
cannonball
Proust.
juggling scene from Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah,
That's a very Python-esque gag. The idea of something completely stupid implied to be some canonical part of the works of Shakespeare. It's sort of like the All England summarized Proust competition
Proust. Yeah,
sort of thing.
or
Or,
the just to use another example, the Wuthering Heights in Semaphore.
yeah, or the reenactment of the Battle of Midway or whatever, where they all just hit each other with
Yes.
handbags and stuff. um,
Yeah, you're right. It is, and I like this character because you don't need to talk to him at all, but you can,
yeah,
and it's just extra stuff. It's not there because it has to be there. There's also the other character who's dragged up, the
yeah,
hilarious bearded woman.
yeah, and that's the whole scene is just very amusing in that respect. The pirate, the big beard in the dress, and
Yeah,
he says that he was a spokesmodel and he wanted to get into acting.
yeah.
You can talk to him a little bit. Yeah, Slappy Cromwell is just there to give you a clue that you need to go and talk to
Palado.
Palardo, right? Yeah, pretty
Yeah,
much.
he is.
Um,
But I also like that you have to clear him out in order to find where they've hidden Elaine.
yeah, and I like the whole thing of Elaine being buried under the stage, under Yorick's grave.
Yeah.
that that leans very well into the the performative nature of the Monkey Island world, which is otherwise like sometimes a little bit lost in the later games, but I think really does still exist here. Like they
Yeah.
literally buried her under a fake grave on a stage. Like how did they bury her there? Well, it doesn't matter. But it's Monkey Island.
Doesn't
If it
matter.
a prop thing and a real thing are indistinguishable from each other in the Monkey Island world, the same reason that the fake tree on the stage has a little sign from the Plunder
Yeah.
Island Naturalist Society.
Yeah. I think that's the other thing. The tone in this game, because it's a little more lighthearted,
Mm.
possibly. It you don't kind of you're not as analytical about things like that.
Yeah. It doesn't draw your attention to them as much. They're more conveyed as being just gags,
Yeah.
but it's
And they're
still
good
there.
gags.
Yeah.
The way that X marks the spot and it's controlling the lights. Somebody's been mucking around with these
Yeah.
controls.
Yeah. Cameo
Um,
for Max
yes,
in
the
there.
cameo for Max, which
This is
means you're on the
this
right track.
yeah, this was back when Sam and Max cameos were de rigueur in
Oh yes,
LucasArts
in all
Adventure
LucasArts
games.
productions.
Back
Yeah.
back when um, Steve Purcell was still had a positive regard for Lucasfilm before the Sam and Max Freelance Police cancellation. Did
Yes.
you hear the story about? Sorry to go off topic
No,
slightly.
that's all right.
What happened with that when
There's
they
bad
can?
blood there?
No, it was just apparently when they cancelled Sam and Max Freelance Police, Telltale were like, "Will you let us finish it?" And LucasArts was like, "No."
Okay.
And Steve Purcell was contracted, like he licensed the rights to Sam Max for them for this period. And apparently, like at the instant that license expired, he gave the
Telltale
rights to Telltale
Telltale, yeah. So just
because
wasting time.
yeah, because these characters were just not being used. Back in this time, it's like you know Sam and Max and LucasArts were kind of inseparable from each
Yeah.
other. Whereas now, there's been far more Sam and Max content
Oh,
created that had
absolutely.
nothing to do with LucasArts.
Yeah.
And I wonder if stuff like this has anything to do with why there's never been any kind of remaster. I don't know. It's probably not. But
If hit the road.
no, of course. I mean,
Oh.
partly yes, hit the road as well. But do references like that get in the way? I don't know. Maybe. But um,
The reference to Max is the reason there's no remaster.
not that alone, but is it references to that kind of thing? You get kind of licensing issues present there. I don't know.
I don't know why there's not been a cursory remaster, because it feels like the most obvious one to do and the
Yeah,
easiest one to do.
yeah, yeah.
Yes,
I think
so
the theater's good fun, and figuring out the instructions to get Elaine back, nice and straightforward puzzle with the
yeah, it's a nice
controls.
puzzle.
It's not some horrible Myst-esque puzzle where you have to know all the different. You have to pull the lever, press some certain buttons, pull the lever
Yeah,
again, press this. Which is kind of where my
yeah,
brain starts going when I see stuff like that. I think, oh God, when do I
yeah,
know when I have to pull a lever and stuff like that? No, not like that. Just push all the buttons in order, pull a lever, you're done.
yeah. You're gonna have to walk to the other side of the island and back to realise if you've done it correctly or not.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. You don't have to walk through a portal to the underworld and all the way to a different portal to figure out if you need to go back and repeat yourself again, like in Chapter 5 of Tales, which I just re-finished.
Yeah, but Riven was on 7 CDs.
Big game.
Wow, big game,
all,
quality.
all that pre-rendered art takes up a lot of space.
Do people still like Riven? I'm not sure.
Oh, I think it has a very small. I think all the Myst games have a small die-hard fan
Yeah,
base.
I just think Mist was such a big thing,
Yeah,
and I don't think Riven was as well received. Anyway, this isn't about all this other
not
stuff.
here to talk about Riven.
Yes, okay, let's travel now to Brimstone Beach.
Yeah, the Cabana Boy is a
Cabana,
great
Cabana Boy doesn't want to
ca-
know you.
character. It's funny how just he's completely disgusted
Yeah.
by you.
Who's
A
he
lot of
called?
good,
You,
a lot of
you
good
dirty little
references in the
man or something?
conversation with him. Yeah, yeah. I think you can try to use a Jedi mind trick on him. There's an
Yeah,
Indiana
you can.
Jones and the Last Crusade reference as well, isn't there, in the conversation with
What is
him?
it?
You can say
There's
something
definitely the Star Wars reference.
to him. Isn't there something you can say to him about like your path or something like that? I
I
could
don't
be
remember.
misremembering.
It's not. It belongs in a museum.
No, I don't know. I could be completely misremembering because it didn't come up the last time I was playing.
We've not
But
encountered a fine leather jacket reference at this point in the game.
no, I. But yeah, I always thought the Cabana Boy was very funny.
It's
Uh,
funny. I remember.
and
I remember having trouble figuring out how to get past him.
yeah, got it.
Obviously, once you need to figure out another puzzle before you can do that.
Yeah, and this is another self-contained puzzle as well, actually.
The getting along
To
across
to
the beach.
to know to get the I was just going to say to get the club membership.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Yeah. Let's talk about that. So to get the club membership, you find it in the belly of a snake.
Yeah, and then sorry, that's to get the reservation, the blonde-beard chicken, and
Ah.
then to
Yes.
get the
Sorry.
club membership. It's like it's all in the one room though. You get the biscuit, you bite the biscuit, you get the maggots. You put the maggots on the chicken, the gross
Yep.
chicken,
Roast chicken.
and it eats. And the clue for that is that Blondebeard said he lost his membership card.
Yep.
when he was working in the kitchen.
Yes.
All the stuff with Blondebeard's chicken is set up really well. There are lots of very clear hints
Yeah.
for the Blondebeard's
Help you figure it
chicken
all out.
related stuff, probably to a it's different from some of the other parts in that
Mm.
regard.
It's a bit more cryptic.
Yeah,
Well, that leads you to you cut up. You get some scissors from the Barbary Coast, and you cut the bush apart. You get a flower,
yeah,
the ipecac flower. And that
yeah,
leads
and
you.
he'll actually Guybrush will go and look at the sign to explain what.
If you haven't looked at it, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Otherwise, he'll just put it in his pocket, and you'll keep cutting.
yeah. It's another thing you
Um,
can learn about what Ipecac
yeah,
is from
ipecac
playing
is
this
yeah.
game.
That's how I learnt about this.
Yeah,
Yep, and you have to get your way out of a snake. So this is a self-contained puzzle, which I like because it's a little bit of a pause in the game.
yeah,
Um, but it's not like you're being locked in a dungeon. There are only very limited options for how to get out, and it's also quite funny. You pick up lots of different parts while you're in the belly of the snake. Lots of different silly inventory items.
yeah.
Fabergé
Fabergé
egg,
egg
the
and
remains of an explorer,
yeah, a bunch of fried eggs and
mm.
sausage, big fatty sausage patties and
And a dingy dog,
stack of pancakes. Yeah,
soft
this is
top.
our early cameo for Dingy Dog,
Dingy dog,
which
yeah.
is an unexplained reference until later on
Yeah, Dingy
in
Dog
the
is a
game.
weird thing that we'll get to when we talk about part five,
5 and 6,
part four.
yeah, part 4 and 5, yeah,
Mm.
yeah. This is our little nod towards the idea that the Big Whoop amusement park is still something of relevance. But
Yeah,
yeah, it's a bit confusing when you haven't actually gotten up to that bit yet because
no,
you don't know what Dingy Dog is actually
no, you don't know what it is.
foreshadowing
It has a
at
little
that
shirt on it that
point.
says "I whooped it up
Whooped it
at
up a
Big
bit.
Whoop."
Yeah. But I do, and this is something we can talk more about in part 4. I like, and it's not quite used as much, but maybe it's the level of understatement is really good. I like that you notice that the region is kind of littered with marketing material
Yeah,
trying to get people to go to Monkey Island so that they can get killed on the roller coaster and turned into LeChuck's slaves.
yeah, undead horde.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
living dead are notoriously bad tippers.
which is yeah, I do like that there are these little bits of foreshadowing about that, and I wonder if they
Mm.
were put in. I'd be curious to know how much of the story was worked out when they were figuring out this
Mm.
stuff. Ending of Curse notoriously rushed, but again, we will
Yeah,
get to that
we'll
eventually.
get to that. Yeah. You combine the ipecac flour with the maple syrup and pour it into the mouth of the
Snake
snake, and
to make him
he
throw up.
barfs you over the edge of the
Yeah,
cliff,
and hey, the
and then
quicksand's sucking all that cool stuff I found out of my pants.
yeah, but leaves you with the reservation slip.
Yeah, all you get to keep is the reservation slip. So you get these two little self-contained puzzles, lock door
Yeah,
puzzle kind of things, one after
yeah,
the other. This one's a
and
bit
the
tricky, I think, with the balloon and
a
the
bit more
rock.
tricky. Yeah, as you
Yeah.
say again, this is the one where you have to use the mouth interaction
Mm.
again.
And it's a puzzle that you the difficulty of it depends to a certain extent on the fact that in some of these games you end up with lots of inventory items, some of which are red herrings and some of which
Mm.
appear to be red herrings but actually aren't.
Yeah.
And I was
So you have to
thinking,
think through what did
yeah,
you absolutely have to get in order to get to this point.
yeah, and I was thinking about this in regards to, as I mentioned to you earlier, I was watching someone trying to do a blind playthrough of the ending of LeChuck's Revenge the other night,
Mm. Yeah.
and it never occurred to this person to give LeChuck the hanky because
Yeah.
by that point in the game, many people would have forgotten that they even had the hanky and would think, oh, the
Yeah.
first 3 or 4 rows of my inventory are just junk from earlier in the game that doesn't matter anymore.
But when we're talking about stuff that Stan's giving you, that's similar to the magnetized compass, I think.
Exactly. And the laminated business card in this game as
Yeah,
well.
yeah, in this game, yeah.
Um, well, again, we'll get to that. But
We'll get to that. Yeah.
yeah, I think that this is a bit of a tricky puzzle. It's actually another one that on a fairly recent playthrough, I'd forgotten how to do. I
Okay.
I have not played Mega Monkey as much as I've played. Like I played Curse a lot, not played Mega Monkey as much as I've
Okay.
played Secret, because I played Secret and Revenge so many times
Yeah.
that I could tell someone to walk through without even seeing the game in front of me.
I could do that for this
But,
too.
but yeah, but Curse for me, I don't quite have that encyclopedic. I probably do now, but
Okay.
that encyclopedic knowledge of Curse I didn't have up to a certain point.
Okay.
But it's not that hard, really.
No, I do like the joke where he says the balloon lands just above the vine, and he says, "Oh, finally, for once today, things are going right," and then it
Yeah, blows
blows
away.
away, and then it comes back.
Yeah,
Thank goodness for those unpredictable Caribbean tropical trade winds.
yeah,
Yeah, so they're little self-contained puzzles. That's to find Danger Cove anyway.
yeah. Yeah,
Um,
and speaking of Danger Cove, another one I forgot how to do for a while was that you need to use the biscuit cutter on the rubber tree to get the plug to
yeah,
fix the
to
boat.
put the boat.
And in my head, I was
Yeah,
like, don't you use the biscuit to fix the boat?
yeah, the
And I
chunk
kept
of
trying to
biscuit.
get Guybrush to
No.
put the half-eaten biscuit into the hole because in my head I'd gotten the biscuit cutter mixed
Yeah,
up with the biscuit
I feel like
itself.
I have a false memory of that as well.
Yeah,
Did you
I don't know
notice
where
that
that's
when
come
you
from.
take the plank, when he has to paddle back on his knees on the plank,
Yeah,
the plank is sitting there on the beach. Have you noticed?
yes.
Yeah.
So they
Okay.
thought through all of this stuff.
Yeah.
No, they don't. They didn't miss. Nothing gets missed. There's
No, it's
definitely
all pretty good.
everything's thought through so that things are where they need to be, and they don't sort of magically appear because it suits the moment or because you forgot or anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. If you row the boat out, then you've got the rowboat to jump into. If you didn't have the boat there, then the plank would be there, and there'd be no reason for it to be back on the beach if you
Yeah.
hadn't.
Exactly. But it is there. That it wouldn't matter if it was there or not. You can't interact with it. It's just a nice little detail.
It's just to explain here how Guybrush gets back
Yeah.
to shore
Yeah.
when he's been in the chicken grease.
Yeah.
Is it easy to miss that you've got the chicken grease in your inventory after that
Possibly.
section where you have to lube up the cannonballs?
Yeah.
um,
Maybe. I don't know. This stuff's very seared into my brain.
yeah, it's just hard to it's hard to remember what it was like to not know how to solve these puzzles. This is again another thing I'm looking
Yeah.
forward to about Return.
Return. Yeah. All
It's
new puzzles that you
going to
can
be nice to
memorize.
have all new puzzles. It was actually one of the things, as much as we criticized Tails, that was kind of nice about replaying
Yeah. I
Tails
agree.
recently was at least
Figuring
it
it out
was it
again.
was new puzzles, or at least they felt new because I couldn't remember any of the solutions.
Yeah. There's
Yeah,
other things that
whereas
let it
this
down.
is like I at this point I couldn't forget how to do any of the puzzles in Curse at this point
No.
if I tried.
No. I'd have to have brain damage or something, I think.
Just zap my memory. Yeah, would be the only thing. Um,
So we were talking about the Brimstone Beach Club,
yeah,
Cabana,
yeah.
and
Should we talk about
Cabana Boy,
yeah, getting past him?
Canada.
I like whipping the cabana boy with a towel.
The wet towel, yeah. This is a wet
It's
blanket.
funny. Papa Pichu.
From
It's
a
like
fish,
the
yes.
an old like locker room prank to whip someone
Yeah.
with a wet
Especially
towel.
someone who's a bit wussy, like him.
Yeah, yeah, a bit stuck up or something like
Yeah.
that,
Is
like
is
he
wuss
is.
is a wuss a global word? I think it is.
I think so. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think that yeah, getting rid of him is funny. The way he's so outraged when he discovers that you have a membership card
Yeah.
is good, and yeah, using the wet towels to cross the beach.
Across the burning sand, yeah.
Yeah, that they
The
literally burn
image of
up.
Guybrush um, dancing his way back across the beach because it's too hot is on the side of the box.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yes, and so it's become one of those evocative images of this game.
Yeah. You get to the other side of the beach and you meet Palado, who's a talent agent, booking agent,
Yeah,
manager for Slappy Cromwell and entertainers. And he says that Guybrush wouldn't be able to make it on Blood Island.
yeah, and I really like the way they characterize Palado. Oh, I'm sorry, babe.
Yeah.
I'm really sorry. I don't want to have to say this to you, kind of thing. That
Yeah.
he's so fake and insincere, and
Yeah,
it's an amusing parody of those
yeah, like a
kinds of
theatre agent.
yeah talent agents, and
Yeah.
how they're always, even everything they say is phrased as if it's some kind of positive, or something.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
really,
Rephrasing it like that to avoid confrontation.
yeah, exactly. There's a sort of amusing,
Yeah.
satire of
But at the same
something
time he's wearing a helmet like the
like
got like this kind of Spanish helmet.
conquistadors, yeah, like a
Yeah.
Morion helmet as well.
Yeah.
Which,
Elaine's soldiers are wearing them at the beginning.
yeah, I mentioned to you the other day, we never get to see any of the Plunder Island soldiers up close. No one mentions Elaine at all. It's almost like
No.
uh,
The voodoo lady does. She's
besides the
governor
voodoo,
of the Tri Island area.
yeah, it feels a bit like the writing for Plunder Island was a bit disconnected from the wider premise of the thing, because yeah, no one
Yeah, no
seems
one
to.
mentions it.
A few people mention the fact that the undead attacked the town, but other than that, no one at all talks about Elaine. There's no governor's mansion,
No.
or anything like that. It's really very disconnected, which I think, I was just going to say, I think in some respects works in the game's favor, because as I've mentioned in a previous episode, you feel quite isolated in Curse. This is Guybrush off on his own
Yeah.
in against a, while at times peaceful and calming, but also rather um, unwelcoming and at times hostile kind of world,
Yeah.
which I like. I think it's sort of helped by the fact that no one in this game besides Guybrush has a walk cycle. I'm
Is that
pretty
true?
sure,
I think
which
you might be
means that
right.
no one. I read something about this recently on Mix and Mojo, maybe, or something like that. Someone was trying to figure out, is there any other character besides Guybrush who has a walk cycle? I don't think that there is.
No, I'm going to be racking my brain now. Yes, no, not necessarily. Oh, no. When you do the gunfight with Van Helgen, he just turns around, doesn't he?
Yeah,
Doesn't
I
actually
think
walk.
there's specific bits of animation, but I don't think that there's any character who is animated so they can freely walk around the environment besides Guybrush.
No, you might be right.
So that obviously would have saved a lot on animation and stuff, but from an atmosphere point of view, it feels like the characters are very static and confined to their environment.
Yes. Everyone except the barbers, I suppose, who end up
Yeah, who end
in
up
other
joining your
locations.
crew, yes, but you never see anyone move around inside their
No.
room or anything like that, except for quick pieces of animation.
Yeah. Well, as you and I know from our amateur games fiddling, is that walk cycles are really boring and
Yeah,
time
they're hard,
consuming to get right.
time consuming to draw, but it's interesting to compare this to the first two games, in which characters, practically every character has a walk cycle, with a few
Yeah.
with a few exceptions.
The, the sprites are much simpler, I
Yes,
think.
yeah, and it does, and I think that's probably just a way in which the production philosophy of this game affects the animation and the way that characters were implemented, which affects the atmosphere as well.
Yeah, I'm fairly sure that these characters were all drawn and scanned
Yeah, yeah, I
and then
think so.
cleaned up from what it looks like. Because there are some points when Guybrush hasn't been completely cleaned up.
Yeah,
Um, okay, let's finish talking about Palido. Then I want to talk about the cutscenes.
yeah,
So Palido has the Blood Island map tattooed on his back,
yeah,
and I think in the possibly the best gag possibly in the entire game, you have to cover him in cooking
cooking oil
oil,
and burn the
which
map off his
burns in the
back,
sun.
which
And the
is so
cutscene and the
disgusting.
sound effect of you
Yeah,
peeling the skin off his
yeah,
back
the
is
crackling
so
noise.
disgusting.
Yeah, yeah.
So funny.
Yeah, I think it's a great gag. I think the whole thing of he's really pale, making fun of him for being pale, covering him with red dye to make him think that he's burning
Yeah,
is a
burning it.
really kind of
You can't get
that's
a tan.
adventure game logic, right? But it's kind of obvious when you after you talk to Kenny. We've barely
Yeah.
talked about Kenny yet, but yeah,
Yeah, we'll talk
the
about Kenny.
bottomless mug and how you got it. It's obvious you need to swap it out for some reason
Yeah.
even if you're not clear why you need the bottomless mug. Of course, as soon as you get it, it's pretty obvious that you're meant
You
to
need to.
pour
Yeah,
something
you're meant
on
to
the
use it for that
palido.
function.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure palido means pale in Spanish,
Okay. Guybrush,
incidentally.
Guybrush makes fun of him being pale. There are a bunch of different options
Yeah. If I
to
bleached
cycle through
chalk,
for
it
that.
would be white. Yeah. It wouldn't be as pale as you or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, which is kind of a. It's good characterization of a Guybrush. It feels similar to insulting Meat Hook. Guybrush is a character who is not afraid of insulting people.
Yeah.
Yeah, just for a cheap laugh.
Yeah.
Kind of makes him feel a bit of a jerk. Okay, let's talk about Kenny then. I think that's the last character to cover off on the last situation.
Yeah. Voiced by the late Gary Coleman.
Yes, like Gary Coleman. Um, he does a really good job doing Kenny. I
Yeah.
think Kenny kind of comes into his own more in the say third part.
Yeah.
But in this one, he's that very typical kind of very American lemonade stall holder
Yeah.
as a
I think
child.
this is still done well, yeah, because he's a little kid, but he's still got the pirate hat on.
Yeah,
He's, you know, still he's called like a small pirate or something like
small
that,
pirate. Yeah.
and I think this is another one of those ways where, again, some people kind of say curse didn't really get what the first two games were going for or something. I think with stuff like this, it's like there was definitely some stuff where they really did get
Yeah,
what and stuff like having a little kid in a pirate costume
yeah.
selling lemonade, like that. I think they did get it. Maybe they just didn't want to do the same kind of stuff with it the whole time.
You can
But
see this character in Revenge,
yeah,
on Booty Island or something, couldn't you?
definitely, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. He calls him a little chiseler. Give me another lemonade, you little chiseler.
Just like, yeah, yeah,
And I like the way he still bullies Guybrush.
yeah, yeah.
And he laughs at you when you're dressed as El Pollo
Yeah,
Diablo,
yeah. If you
covered in
go up
feathers.
to him as a chicken, he laughs at you, which is pretty
Yeah.
funny. He's the only person who doesn't get scared or of you when you're covered in feathers.
Yeah. And but he always he cries to his mum when you swap out the mugs and take his lemonade, even though he's cheated you out of it in the first place.
Yeah, and that's another good example of the whole lying, cheating, stealing thing being treated in a different way. Well, here you're cheating someone who's trying to cheat you.
Yeah, exactly. And I like the way that he's kind of brought back again. His character develops a little bit
Yeah,
in part three, where he's selling you all the cannons.
yeah,
As a nice way to do that, I think. Is that all about Kenny? Kenny Foulmouth.
yeah. So, do we want to talk about the cutscenes then?
Yeah, so as you progress through, you trigger some cutscenes when you leave the environment. The first one is of two pirates who are going through the wreckage from the siege, the Plunder Island siege,
Yeah,
and one of them picks up some boots, and they're still
yeah,
hot.
yeah, yeah. Ow, 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 which still have, yeah, the Chuck spirit clinging to them. And this is just like the first two games. You have these little check-ins with LeChuck
Yep.
throughout the game, and this also foreshadows the appearance of King Andre as well. King
Yep.
Andre
King
will pay the
Andrel pays
nose
for the
through all
nose.
this loot. Yeah, so a lot of this stuff is neatly set up before it appears. The same with Dingy Dog, the little Dingy Dog soft toy appearing
Yeah.
earlier, setting up the carnival later in the game.
Yeah. The image of just the smoking boots being the
Yeah,
only thing to remain is another very Python
yes,
gag.
yeah, yeah. For smoking boots getting left behind. Yeah, um,
Yeah.
and then
We
the
get a second
the
cutscene.
hot cutscene.
Yep.
Um, that great bit of animation of LeChuck,
Reforming as
yeah,
a demon.
shooting up the mast as a kind of fireball and then kind
It's
of
just
almost redrawing himself from the
it's just
skeleton art.
so good.
Yeah, yeah, a bit reminiscent of Rapscallion's resurrection, but a lot more intense.
Yeah, and
You see
very
like
sinister.
the rib cage and the arms flexing out and stuff. Yeah, really well done. And the fact that the two pirates have been turned into
Being killed. Yeah,
skeletons as well.
skeletons. Look, I really am big
Yeah,
boned.
yeah, and the way the tall, skinny one gulps and his like neck bones bulge out like he's swallowing through an esophagus, stuff
Yeah,
like
it's
that.
great. It's
Yeah,
very. Actually, I was watching Peter Pan the other day. It feels
yeah,
very much like something from the Disney animated Peter
yeah,
Pan.
yeah,
Yeah, but I think that LeChuck is genuinely frightening in these cutscenes.
yeah. These bits make him quite scary, and then he turns pretty goofy again
Yeah, he does
later
get goofy.
on. But when you first
Yeah,
see that he's come back to life in yet another form,
yeah.
and is
The
able
shot.
to transform people into undead monsters as well.
Yeah, that's spooky as well.
Yeah,
The shot where he says "Suffering sailors, is it sailors or sea dogs?
sailors.
Suffering sailors, 'tis good to be dead."
Yeah,
That's great.
yeah, yeah. They're good cutscenes.
It's just one of the best moments in the game,
Yeah,
I think.
yeah.
I got chills.
It's one of those things that again shows off the how good the animation was and everything.
Yeah, and as I said before, and I mentioned to you, it's like that real classic. What do they call it? The Disney Renaissance? Is that what it's
Yeah,
called?
yeah,
With the Hunchback of Notre Dame and Aladdin and all that stuff. It's very similar to that, which is
yeah,
clearly in vogue. But it looks so good. There's a reason why those films are still classics, I
yeah,
think.
yeah. It was done. It was done really well.
Yeah. And you don't see as much like that now. Do you have anything else to say about the curse gets worse? We've talked about it for a long time, and I still feel like there probably is more to say about it.
Yeah, I mean it's a big part, but I think we've covered pretty much everything. I think we didn't mention the rubber tree in the Cabotos, but
Yep.
that's a
Yeah, the
nice
rubber tree.
nice callback, and that's a good Monkey Island gag where you use something that isn't what it appears to be in order to get one over
Yep.
on haggis in
Yeah.
this case. Yeah, I think we covered getting we more or less covered getting tarred and feathered to get to get into the cabin on the
Yeah.
sea cucumber, which is
Sea
one,
cucumber.
one of the one
Mr.
of the best
Fossey asks
names.
if you're humiliated, and he says no more than
Yeah,
usual.
yeah. There's lots of this is so embarrassing. There's
Yeah.
good lines about that. Obviously a big chunk of this is carried by Dominic Armado's voice acting. Like
Oh yeah.
the whole game is, of course, and pretty much all of the subsequent games
Yeah,
as
he
as
owns the
well
role,
just
man.
shows how well cast he was and still is as Guybrush, and how well that the writing and his performance
Yeah.
really,
Especially in this game.
really supported this. Yeah, I think, there's definitely probably stuff that we've missed, but I think we've covered
Most.
all of the
We can
main
mop it up
puzzles.
later if we need to. There's
Yeah,
no
we can
fast
always
one.
talk more about this, but yeah, it was lots of fun replaying this. There's so much dialogue to go through and so many gags and different options. It's argued in some quarters that maybe there's too much dialogue. I wouldn't necessarily say that that's the case. Um,
No.
I just think this, it's like we were saying before, this is the part of the game where it really opens up and really demonstrates, as you said, how much production value this game
Yeah.
had. This big environment with loads of puzzles, huge
Expands.
amounts of voice acting, tons of dialogue, tons of jokes,
Yeah.
excellent animation, visuals, music, all coming together to really, if we think of this as the first act, produce a really compelling first act intended to give new players and returning players from the first two games that Monkey Island experience that
Yeah.
that Ackley and Ahern wanted people to get from this
Yeah.
game.
And as a 10 or 11-year-old, this to me felt just as good as
Yeah, yeah,
Secret and
it felt just right, really. And we
yeah.
didn't know anything about who was making the games
No,
back
not
when
at
we
all.
were that age, and it did feel right. I get that some people maybe prefer the first two, and I do as well. And as I said before,
Yeah, same.
for some people though, it is the definitive one. Yeah, it definitely is a bit different to the first two, but what it is still a product of exceptionally high quality.
Oh, yeah.
This game is another work of art in the
Yeah.
series.
Yeah. It's totally a little different, but it's, yeah, as you say, as I said at the beginning, you can forgive a lot of it because the production is so high.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, well, that concludes for now our discussion of The Curse Gets Worse.
Yeah.
So, shall we spin the madly
Yeah,
rotating
let's
buccaneer?
spin the madly rotating buccaneer.
So, if this is the first one of these you've listened to, episode 11, by the way, what we do each week, we need something to talk about, is instead of methodically going through and talking about each part in a sensible way, we do this thing where we spin the madly rotating buccaneer, which is a big wheel that I've got in my house that has all of the parts on it. It is definitely not just a random result generator on my phone. So I've struck off The Curse Gets Worse, and we have to spin the wheel to see which part we're going to talk about next time. We'll play it in the week, and then we'll discuss it. But as we're members of the Gamblers Club, we all lock in a bet to see what we're going to get, and we can have a second spin of the wheel if we really don't want to play the part that comes up. So lock in your bet for this edition of the Madly Rotating Buccaneer.
Okay. My bet is whatever Act 3 of Tales is called. Sorry, not Tales. We already did that. Escape from Monkey Island. That's what I meant.
Escape from Monkey Island
Is called
part 3.
It's called Act 3. Is called Escape from Monkey Island.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's so weird because that's the one I was going to say. Isn't that weird? Okay, I'm going to say 3 Sheets to the Wind just because it's so close to what we talked about today.
All right.
Okay, you ready? Let's
Yes.
spin the wheel. Oh, you're going to love this. Especially because you've just played it, Rise of the Pirate God.
Oh, okay. All right, you've got to get cracking then.
Yeah, I'll stick with it. I've only got 2 parts to go.
Remaining 2 parts of Tales. Yeah.
That's all right. I've got them all loaded up on my computer.
Yeah,
the
at
video
least this is fresh for me.
Yeah.
So...
That's okay. That's probably the part I remember the least, I think. So,
yeah, and I actually wouldn't mind talking about Tales a bit more. I think I have more thoughts on it at the moment, so
Okay.
That's okay.
We've not
with
had
me.
Apart From Escape yet.
Nor have we had Apart From Secret.
Oh, true. We haven't done that many of these.
Yeah.
All right, so unless something else comes up,
Yeah.
we will talk about Rise of the Pirate God, Part 5 of Tales of Monkey Island next time. So, thank you for listening to Rubber Chicken with a podcast in the middle. As always, I've been Captain Gordon.
And I'm Commodore Alistair.
And...
Look behind you! A three-headed monkey!